let's talk more about the debate and how bad CNN was. So this is an interesting quote. CNN is truly a terrible influence in this country. Hey, let's have a look. So critics of the corporate media, as well as supporters and staffers of Senator Bernie Sanders' campaign, blasted the moderators of the CNN Des Moines Register Democratic presidential debate Tuesday night for employing centrist talking points and demonstrating a bias against Sanders in how they framed questions. So the little over 2-hour debate, a lot of the first half of it was on the war, right, with Iran, the prospect of war with Iran, and then moving from that into smearing Bernie Sanders over Medicare for All. Although it was interesting, Common Dreams reported the financial burden of deploying American forces was notably absent during the first part of the debate. But the moderators did ask the candidates about the costs of implementing Medicare for All.
Of course.
As Sanders has proposed. That contrast and the presentation of the healthcare questions sparked swift condemnation from progressives. So overall, a team of Rolling Stone writers called the debate modifier's questions mystifyingly insane in a piece titled CNN Completely Botched the Democratic Presidential Debate. Huffington Post's Zach Carter called them awful. According to him, the debate on the whole was tedious, interminable, I can't even read that word, interminable, frivolous, a fiasco of irrelevance held 3 weeks before the Iowa caucuses. Again and again, CNN anchors substituted centrist talking points for questions, then followed up predictable responses with further centrist talking points, rarely illuminating any substantive disagreements between the candidates or problems with their policy positions. That was HuffPo's Zach Carter. These are relevant critiques. It ended up being such a bad debate, and so even the hashtag Bernie Blackout kept trending. We mentioned this earlier in the previous story. Robin Curran tweeted out that this was the single best fundraising hour of any debate so far for Bernie Sanders' campaign. Workers for Bernie Sanders and union leaders elsewhere have said, "Hey, we can fight, we can win." That's really the big takeaway is despite all of this, Bernie Sanders still came across really well in donations. He came across really well to voters. I think sticking on message was good for him. But every single question was like, that's not even a true thing. Why are they? Okay, and then when their follow-up, they just reassert the same thing. Again, it was so frustrating to watch. And you said it earlier, Kira. It's like they're trying to slip all this stuff in. It did not go unnoticed. It was very, very blatant. And I think it gets noted in a number of debates, but I feel like it was even at a heightened level in this debate, like that people were really on point with their calling out. That's not even that's such a centrist framing, and that was not a good follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I was just about to interrupt you with, I thought you were done talking.
Almost. I just keep rambling.
Anyway, one of the things that I was going to mention is about that debate. What I get nervous about, what I get worried about, is that people don't read the reports that we read. They don't really pay close attention to the debates, and so if they're not reading like follow-ups about the debates, or maybe they're getting their information from other news organizations, then they may not notice those sorts of things, first of all. And I think that's probably a larger majority than people who do notice it. I obviously don't have the numbers on me right now. Otherwise, I would tell you what that percentage is, but it's probably not actually polled. And what this really reminds me of is a book that I read back in college for assigned reading for a communications course I was in called Amusing Ourselves to Death. Mm-hmm. And one of the arguments the author in that book made was that Sesame Street is, very dangerous. And one of the reasons he says it's dangerous for children is because it makes education entertaining, which I think that there are arguments to be made against that, but the argument that he makes is, well, now kids will always think that education needs to be entertaining and it doesn't set them up very well for school. And I feel like that argument can be easily just taken and put on CNN. CNN walks around with this facade of entertainment. Obviously, every time I turn on a debate, it looks like I'm watching a Super Bowl game. But also this idea that they are a trusted news source, right? And I think that's the belief about CNN as as far as the majority of people are concerned. I get nervous that there aren't that many people paying attention to that. And so what they do here are those really strong statements about how Bernie Sanders is sexist, like we said before, that Bernie Sanders, said, hey, I don't think a woman could ever be president. It's not like they're giving that any context and then they go ahead and reiterate it. Like, say it again, like right after. And so I don't know if it's, my point is, long-winded point is, I don't know if it's that obvious what CNN did.
I actually have a completely different take on that.
Okay.
So first of all, let's just start with CNN, the garbage fire that it is. Kyle Kalinski's show, Secular Talk, has similar ratings to CNN right now, as we speak. The real difference is, and this goes to why people are voting for Bernie or otherwise, and why they're voting for Biden or this, that, or the other, CNN's audience is past retirement. These are people that are 65 plus, in their 70s. I think the median age of a CNN viewer is like 71 or something like that. So these are,
or in an airline terminal.
Yeah, or yes, or exactly, or in some restaurant that we hope to overtake someday. But this is their audience. No one really watches them, and I don't think people take them really that seriously. As again, like they've spent all their reputation already. I think that they're like, are there people that are like, I trust CNN, they're good, and yeah, there are, but I don't think there's that many. I think that every night they get about 600,000 viewers, which is really pitiful.
And arguably for the debate, they probably got more viewers than that.
But most of those viewers are going to not be CNN viewers to start with.
Well, would you say that a lot of those viewers are not news viewers in general? Because it was the last debate, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I think to a degree.
This is all speculation anyway, so I guess
I would look at it like this. Well, you have, okay, let's just go with, I'll just speak about our audience. Like, our audience, like, you may not guess it, I think the median age for someone who watches Hardlands media is actually like 45. We have a lot of people that would otherwise be in a CNN age demographic. So I think that first we have to split apart the ages. Generally speaking, and let's just say 45 because that's actually also the big cutoff. People that are under 45, huge support for Bernie Sanders, much more progressive, all those other things. So then if you say, and that's almost a monolith. Like there are people that are under 45 that are like, I'm super conservative, I love CNN, but there just really aren't that many of them. Now we go to the above 45, but really the above 55 crowd that's there. There's a lot, and we've learned this from our audience and a lot of other things. There are a lot of people in that age bracket that just never subscribed to it in the first place, never bought in, sort of like us growing up, and they just never believed what CNN was pushing. So what you're left with is really a small number of people that make generally a lot of money that watch CNN. These are your people that your Buttigieg will go out and get.
That watch and trust CNN.
Yes.
Right.
But it's because it's not
uncritically watched.
It's not
uncritically watched.
No.
CNN.
I wouldn't even say it's uncritically, and I wouldn't even say it's trust. It's that their interests align. That these are people with a lot of money.
Okay.
CNN speaks to people and talks to people, ideally, that have a lot of money. That is their. I mean, everyone on CNN that does their presenting is a millionaire on top of that. That's true for all the networks. So I don't think anyone really trusts them. I think the people that do are doing it because it helps them. It's like people that own coal companies that are climate change deniers. It's CNN. It's that's the kind of people that are backing CNN. That's the kind of content that CNN produces, and the people. So those people already were never going to vote for Bernie Sanders. They were always
Yeah.
going to give money to Joe Biden. So I always look like that's a set demographic in my point of view. And so it's really when a young person watches that debate, and maybe they're not that interested in voting, and they see CNN doing this, that pisses them off. And
Right.
they go, I'm going to donate to Bernie Sanders. In fact, Bernie Sanders made $1.7 million because so many people were pissed with the way CNN conducted that, let's call it a debate, even though it really wasn't. It was just CNN talking points hour. And they were so sloppy. That's the other thing, that a company that's in control and feels like they wouldn't do that way. CNN was sloppy in my point of view because they're trying to push an agenda and they just overextended in every way possible. They expected people to just believe them. They didn't. They expected their sexist attacks to come off not as that. It didn't work. They expected that this Warren plan I think they literally thought that they were going to take down Bernie Sanders in that debate. Mm-hmm. And they literally did the opposite. I think, if anything, Sanders' polls will go up the next time that there is a poll. I think that they've spent themselves. They're fighting foes that are too big. This is what it looks like when these kind of systems start collapsing on themselves. And I think CNN, of the big three, is going to be the first to fall.
Yeah. One of the things that DCK Punk actually posted in the chat that kind of echoed my concern was, I don't have it right here in front of me, but something about if you go on Twitter and you look at some of the commentary from, say, like Warren supporters, he says, if you go on Twitter and watch Warren defenders try to defend Warren, you realize how truly stupid the voting populace is. And so, I think that echoes my concern a little bit. He just did it in a way more succinct way, that like I do see a lot of these other bubbles that aren't seeing what we're seeing, and I see a lot of people inside of those bubbles trying to pop them, and it doesn't seem to matter. So not only is there this not fully being informed, but this resistance to wanting to be fully informed. And I do kind of understand it. We had a conversation about that inside of like a month ago, inside of my own shit, man, I got to let go of Warren as being a progressive, right? That was a really hard thing for me to admit. And I think, I think that people are resistant to it, A, or B, they're not getting the information because of news outlets like CNN and others.
Well, so I've heard it expressed in this way, is like, I know I'm getting screwed over by oligarchs and by the government. I really just don't want to hyper-focus on it and know every single detail about how I'm getting screwed over. It's just too depressing.
Yeah,
And it's like, well, you kind of should. But you give them power by not knowing, by not looking into it. You're just bending over.
I would say this. I think that every single group has sycophants. Every single group, there are asshole Sanders supporters. There are sycophantic Sanders supporters that are like, Bernie cannot do anything wrong, and that applies to every single candidate. And I think Twitter especially, I don't like using Twitter as a reference point because most of the sycophants and most of the assholes are like, Twitter seems like a good home to live at. But what I did see, because I did also check Twitter, I'm not really active on Twitter. I posted a few things yesterday because I thought it was like, oh, this is a big thing. But the amount of Warren supporters that I did see go, I supported you and I don't anymore. The fact that it looks like Act Blue actually crashed with the number of Warren supporters that were requesting refunds from Warren because they don't support her anymore. There are always going to be people that are dumb. There are always going to be people that are uninformed. There are always going to be people that punch water, and that's all they know how to do. That's all they will ever know how to do. I feel like it's like a specific phenotype that like a 2-5% chance of humans just kind of roll that, and that's what they got as a natural part of their personality. I'm here to try and get the rest of the people. Like a perfect example, Kira. I said a month or two ago, we're going to get you off Warren, and we got you off Warren. So there you go. I've already had a successful conversion thanks to you guys, thanks to everyone else up here, and also Kira is, I think, in the majority of people going, Like, I really feel this way about this thing. I may be a little resistant right away to change my mind, but if I keep hearing positive information, like, I think the best thing we can do, again, this is a win by winning argument. Don't tell Warren people they're stupid. They're not. They are making the decision that they feel is best. The best way to get them on our side is to convince them to be on our side and not be jerks. This is what politics is all about. Politics is how humans organize power. And it's our job to find the most efficient way to get the things that we want accomplished and to be our own keys in our own ways and to have our own form of power. As an example, you volunteer at a huge amount of campaigns. You're important to those campaigns. So if all of a sudden a bunch of Warren supporters decide, you know what, I don't like Warren anymore because of what she did to Bernie, she loses volunteers, she loses money, she loses voters. And then it's up to us to go to those Warren people and say, hey, look, I'm really sorry about what happened with Warren. I know her and Sanders are close. Come over here. Come to the light side. We also have cookies as well. And
to be fair, every campaign has cookies. Or
okay,
donuts.
there you go. But that's what I'm
Can't
saying.
win a campaign without cookies.
Yeah.
Or donuts.
Everybody knows
Or donuts.
this.
Always donuts.
Snacky food.
It comes down to the same thing. We win by winning, and we don't win by punching water. Don't attack people because it's just going to make them less likely to convert.
Yeah.
It's difficult, especially when you have people that are really, really boneheaded.
Right, well,
of any
and
kind.
really, one of the things that I run into personally on social media, not to get into much of my drama, is like a lot of these groups that I'm a part of. They're really horribly mean. So I have a tendency to not want to get into those conversations because they're so mean.
But here's the
and so I'm just like, yeah, I'm good.
I would argue those groups probably help Sanders, even though they attack him.
Yeah.
Because then people, like, for example, yourself, see them and you go, I don't want to be a part of that. People don't like being a part of nasty things. So if you're in a Warren group of people and you're just group thinking yourself into hating Sanders
into a frenzy.
Into a frenzy.
Yes.
What happens when those people interact with people in reality? And then everyone goes, oh, that's a Warren person?
It's repulsive, absolutely.
And so what really wins? Probably not Facebook arguments, although I do have to say I have won a few of those. But it's Sanders has the right way. He has a 1 million-man army, 1 million volunteers, face-to-face, door-to-door, because it's really hard to say Bernie is I only watch CNN, Bernie is a sexist, misogynist that only has white males voting for him when he may, for example, have someone like AOC knocking on your door saying, hi, I love Bernie Sanders. Here's why I think he's good on immigration. Here's why I think he's good on this or that. It's us leading a good example, showing people the right way. It's not going to get everyone. It never will. But it will get more. And Sanders only lost by 10 points when no one knew who he was, when the media completely ignored him, when Hillary Clinton had everything that happened, the DNC, everything. They will never have that amount of power again. They've already shown it. Before they could just unilaterally wipe out Sanders and do these certain things. Here, people are revolting against CNN and Warren for saying that he's sexist, something that would have never happened in 2016.
Absolutely.
So have hope. If you don't have hope, what's the point?